Good evening, loonies. This is the Hug Jacket Gamers podcast. Welcome. Strap yourselves in. Tonight we're going to talk about a couple news things and Bloodborne. To start the night off, we're going to talk about some personal achievements and goals. So I am Tor.
All right, Tor, what are some of your personal achievements and goals in life?
I would like to beat Bloodborne and also make music for a living or game design sound.
What kind
That's
of
what I
music
would
do you
do.
make, Tor?
Dubstep.
Dubstep? So,
And metal and other stuff.
all right. So, do you have anything on the internet that maybe our listeners can, tune into and see what you've got?
Actually, me and Eric here just released an EP under the name of Toric on Beatport on IMAS Records. So if you go to Beatport, you can find us there by searching for Toric. It's called the Stanza EP.
Okay, and it's Toric.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Shameless plug. What about you, Eric?
Let's see, my personal goals in life are to, continue to be, grow in my creativity and become somebody who can be prolific in all sorts of different mediums, right? So,
So, like a jack of all trades.
jack of all trades, but in the art and music community.
So, like a limited jack of all trades.
Yeah, like creative consultant, I guess. I don't know. I like obviously want to be a musician and want to continue Toric and continue growing and learning in that regard, and maybe eventually taking it on tour and raging out with a bunch of people. Would be pretty sweet.
What about you, Peter?
Me? Well, fuck. I mean, you guys both have. You guys are both music oriented, and you guys have got lots of time to play video games. Technically, I do too, but I started a new job. It's pretty good. It has to do with finances and credit cards and so forth. So it pays rather well. It's got good benefits. So my goal is to move up in that company, get a little bit better at what I do, which is customer service. Be good at talking to people and making them feel happy with their lives. And also, I'm an amateur actor. I'm a pretty decent singer. People say I've got a nice voice. And eventually, I'd like to kind of have my own stunt crew and advise on films. Different fights, styles, make it look really realistic while still being really entertaining. That kind of interesting action-oriented stuff, in addition to just regular, everyday acting.
Yeah, I would say that that we could list some of the productions that Peter and I have partaken in as achievements. I would say that overall, the Scarlet Pimpernel at PVCC was, I thought it was pretty awesome. And then
I think you're being facetious.
no, man, honestly, I really had a great time with it, and I thought we did a really good job.
Okay.
I also think that as far as projects that you and I have worked on together in musical theater, I thought Drowsy Chaperone was, hit the nail on the head. It was just, it was really good.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give you that. The Drowsy Chaperone, if our listeners have never heard of it, it's kind of a good introduction to the frivolous side of musicals. I mean, a lot of people have heard of Sweeney Todd and, that Johnny Depp movie. It was actually a musical originally produced on Broadway, and The Drowsy Chaperone is just an example of where Sweeney Todd is kind of the serious side. The Drowsy Chaperone is very much the silly side. It's all about fun and silly characters and spectacle. It's really good.
And I think it has a good message of, like climbing above the oppression and depression that can come with everyday life by, expressing yourself or listening to something that's your favorite musical or
Yeah, coping by sharing what you enjoy in life, and that's the core message. But on top of that, it's all silly fun and games.
oh yeah. Well, I think it's cool because it's like the whole time the narrator is basically talking about escaping to a different world for a little while.
Yeah, and then
Which
you're
is-
you're in his apartment, and then
Yeah.
as he starts playing his record of his favorite musical, the characters start popping out of the furniture, and slowly over time, his entire apartment just turns into the setting for the musical, which is some kind of a villa or something where
Yeah.
they're having a wedding celebration.
But I think that's a good, that could also be applicable to video games.
Right, yeah. So video games do a lot of things like that. They they kind of you as the player, you get transformed, you get taken into this world, and musicals do the very same thing, but to transition into video games, the whole purpose of the medium, at least generally, unless it's some sort of commentary on video game culture, which is really popular lately. It's all about sucking you in. It gives you some regular everyday set pieces, and then it slowly builds on that until you're no longer playing just any video game. This is a world that you're inside. You're experiencing every emotions that your main character that you're playing is feeling, and you become part of the narrative itself.
All right. Well, we've got some rumors from the radio here. It's time for some gaming news. Speaking of games and being transported into worlds, we actually have quite a few things about being transformed into worlds. The first thing is No Man's Sky related. Basically, what has happened is they divided by zero. So they decided that their engine was huge enough that they could program drones. So we've got like a universe in a computer that they've programmed drones to go and like take pictures of these planets and areas that they've made, and they basically send out JPEGs so that the developers can see if it's working or not.
Okay, so my question is, I don't know anything about this game, but that sounds kind of awesome. The developers made a universe that's so vast and complicated and different that they decided to save time by not having to browse each world individually. They're just like, we're going to take the time to program a space probe to go and visit these planets, take pictures, and we'll just look at those really quickly and decide if everything's okay.
Well, okay, so the way I think it's coming across right now is that there is one big universe, and that it's just so big that they're sending drones out to take video or like GIFs of it to send back to the developers so that they can check on the fauna, the flora, like all of the make sure that the planets themselves are intact and come out, without like some stupid monster with, one leg and an eyeball every time, you land on a planet and then there's like a wiener monster or something,
Like in Spore.
Yes, very much like in Spore. But the idea is actually that because the universe is procedurally generated, it's going to be different every time, right? So all of once you start, you get going, you fly off, and it's completely unique to your game, and that can cause a lot of issues when a lot of the systems that make that atmosphere run, that make that universe run, are randomly generated. So what they're doing is, instead of opening the game every time, playing through it and figuring out what's wrong planet by planet, they're just sending drones out to do the job for them, which is kind of insane.
Okay, so procedurally generated, do we have a definition for that?
Yeah, so it's basically behind the scenes there are a series of
Calculations?
calculations that randomize the product, the final product, right? So every time you do it, the calculations are scrambled, and therefore the universe that you experience is different from the one that your buddy playing right next to you is. And like I said, they've hinted at people being able to come into your universe and explore that with you, but that's basically the gist of it, is that there's behind the scenes knobs that are being turned, and they calculate what it's going to be like this next time, right?
Okay, so I mean, procedurally generated. Does can that basically also mean, you start at one planet and other planets don't exist yet as long as you're near that planet, but if you travel outwards a little bit, the game just automatically generates different places for you to explore?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So it's like almost like they're making a Star Trek game or like a Doctor Who game, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Where as far as you go, there's something new around every corner.
Hey, pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So, one of the other rumors that we heard, and speaking of immersion, so it was something that Peter had brought up. So, Peter, why don't you tell us about this nose nonsense that's going on here?
Okay. Yeah. You hit that rumor right on the nose, huh?
Oh my god.
Okay. So this is more of a bullet point than a news story. I mean, if you don't know anything about it, maybe it's news to you. But the problem with virtual reality gaming, and actually something that a lot of people experienced when they saw Avatar in theaters in 3D, is people get vertigo, motion sickness, nausea. They get all those effects. This also happens with found footage movies where, the camera is often from the first person perspective. And what this article that I have pulled up in front of me, I apologize, I don't actually know what webpage this is from, and I don't know if they source it at all. But basically, researchers have found that if you place a static object in your field of view, so you're wearing virtual goggles and you're seeing the world from the first-person perspective, if you have a static object in your field of view, such as a car dashboard or a plane cockpit, then that helps cut down on the feeling of motion sickness. It actually extends the amount of time that you can play. But these researchers, they just had the idea, like, what if we put in a virtual nose in the center of the screen? Would that help? And they actually did that. They ran some tests with different groups of people. Some of the tests were like a Tuscany villa. Another test was a roller coaster ride, like a really thrilling roller coaster ride. And they found that overall, test subjects that had the nose in their screen, and the test subjects weren't told about the nose, they found that test subjects with the nose in their screen could actually be on the roller coaster for 94 more seconds without feeling nauseous. Whereas, flip that. The Tuscany Villa, they would be able to play 94 more seconds without feeling nauseous, and the roller coaster, about 2.2 seconds longer. So they're small steps, they're small strides, but as far as virtual reality gaming goes, that's kind of an exciting prospect, and any improvement in that area is kind of a cool find.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, Eric, you were saying earlier that when I mentioned this article that you may have played a couple of these?
Yeah, I've actually, my buddy has the dev kit for the Oculus Rift, and he was running me through some of this stuff one weekend, and he showed me the villa basically, and I going through that is really cool because it just really, as soon as you put the headset on and you start playing and start walking around, it really does put you in that world, and it's super exciting and super cool. But one of the drawbacks is that that moving around and like going through this world kind of makes you queasy and makes you sick. And so I think it was like 2 to 3 minutes in, I was just like, okay, yeah, I'm done. I've seen how this really cool villa is, but I can't really do it anymore because I'm getting a headache and feeling nauseous.
All right, so for any viewers that are interested, and I'll keep this nice and brief, but the reason that people get vertigo or motion sickness is because the human beings themselves, their vision centers in their brains are just really highly overdeveloped. And you can see examples of this by looking at, car bumpers and their lights. You can see faces in things where there aren't faces. And that's because you really strongly rely on your vision to guide you throughout life. I mean, if you took away vision, maybe some other sense would take over and help you navigate the world. But really, we're just vision-oriented. And there's this system called the vestibular system inside of your ears. They're just liquid-filled tubes that help your brain detect motion when your body is moving. So imagine that you are in a virtual reality game. Your vision is telling you that you're moving forward or you're flying through the sky if you're in an airplane. However, your ears aren't detecting that your body is moving at all. And that difference in information is what actually causes you to feel nauseous. And I encourage anybody, because this is a new technology, well, sort of. Virtual reality has been around for a long time, but now's really the first time that they're making great strides to try to make it mainstream and important. If anybody's interested, just go ahead and look up some information about virtual reality and the vestibular system, and what people are trying to do to overcome those problems.
Yeah, I would just want a holodeck already, so I don't really give a shit about. But yeah, no, there are a lot of problems with VR, and they're trying to overcome them. A big thing, I think, maybe is like the realism of the graphics now too. Also, might be it, because the old VR consoles didn't give people motion sickness or anything like that, but they were like, weren't you playing? You were playing games that were like duck hunting and stuff like that. So there was no real movement involved, and like everything looked weird. But so people I guess everyone gets sick after playing these games. But what about because I've seen people play Minecraft at length on an Oculus Rift.
Okay, so I have played Minecraft on Oculus Rift, and I would say that it's actually very well implemented. I did end up feeling sort of queasy, but I would say that it was negligible. It was not really anything that would cause me to
enjoyment.
Yeah, exactly. And it was really well done. The way the HUD was set up, it just kind of hovered in front of you, and it actually wouldn't turn with you, which is kind of cool, because when you turned left or right, the HUD that would like your inventory would stay in front of you, so you always knew which way was front, which is kind of cool. But yeah, there weren't any issues with that, and I wonder, because there's a theory going around that another reason that it causes headaches or motion sickness is because in reality, when you move forward, there's like a get up and go phase where you don't start and then immediately go. There's like a ramp up to your movement, right? So you slowly start moving, and then you go. Whereas in games, they can't really emulate that, or they haven't found a way to emulate that, at least in VR. And so instead of like that gradual progression into movement, you go from 0 to 100. So you're either moving or you're not moving. And that also supposedly has some crazy like neurological effects. And they're thinking that that's another problem. And I feel like maybe there was something in Minecraft that maybe there was like a little accelerator or something like that that kind of nullified that effect.
Well, you don't I'm pretty sure that you don't start at max speed when you hit W in Minecraft. I think there is an acceleration. Another thing that I was going to bring up is, maybe they also haven't figured out like motion blur and stuff like that, like realistic motion blur, because the thing is like you have to simulate all of the visual effects properly so that like you get this, this extremely seamless experience, right? It feels real. Maybe it has to do with motion blur and stuff, because I know that they like overdo it in video games. They overdo motion blur on purpose.
Yeah.
It's part of just, making a game look cool or whatever. So maybe the motion blur is too much or unnatural or something like that.
I remember as a kid, I mean, maybe this doesn't count quite as virtual reality, but I remember going to these different, not game stores, but they were just these huge places that would have games like Dave & Buster's, where you would sit down in a race car that actually rumbled and moved with you as you looked at a gigantic screen in front of you. And I don't remember getting motion sickness or feeling ill at all. I just remember feeling thrilled that I was actually participating in a realistic car race. And I think, honestly, as VR technology goes forward, if just movement mechanics became cheaper, such as being in a race car or in a cockpit, that kind of thing. If that technology becomes rather cheap, I think VR would take off like that. I mean, that would solve a lot of the problem with the motion sickness if you actually feel the motion in your body as well as just with your eyes.
Yeah, I could see that working out.
All right, so the last bit of rumors we have, I guess it's not really rumors, it's kind of confirmed, but there are some rumors surrounding it, and they are immersion related, is Bethesda. Bethesda is hosting their very first E3 press conference. What do you guys think?
So how long has Bethesda been around? Because the only game of theirs that I've played that I know of is Dishonored, and let me tell you, I hate it.
Skyrim?
Huh?
You haven't played Skyrim?
No, I've just watched people spend hours and hours playing Skyrim, and they wouldn't let me play because they were busy playing themselves.
Gotcha.
Now, I should finish. I hated Dishonored, but I loved the DLCs that they added onto it. And because of that, because of what I could see that they could do after they've told their main story and they kind of elaborate on one particular character that they introduced in the Dishonored world, Dowd, when I saw them elaborate on him, they really created a very interesting story, and along with the game mechanics that they put into Dishonored, like, it was just the coolest thing that I had played up till that point. Apart from maybe Portal 2, which is a different discussion altogether. But anyway, Bethesda, what other games have they made that I might have heard of?
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert, Bethesda didn't make Dishonored.
Oh, they didn't?
They published
They
it.
published it.
They published it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But they've become more a developer publisher as of late than
Than just
developing
or
games.
publisher. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So,
So-
they publish games that I like, I guess, but do they also develop games?
Yeah. Okay. So they developed Skyrim. They developed Fallout 3. I believe I'm not sure if they developed or just published The Evil Within. ZeniMax, their sister studio, developed Elder Scrolls Online. They developed Oblivion, Morrowind, Wolfenstein: The New Order.
Also,
I think that
1 and 2.
that might have been published. Yeah, all the Elder Scrolls series they've made. They published Brink, which was not a very big success. They've recently bought id, so I'm pretty sure they published Rage. And yeah, just they've come out with a lot of games.
All right, and yeah, I noticed also in my memory banks that they have a very similar visual style, except for, some of the games that they just published, right? That they didn't develop, but they released.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. So I think I'm on the same page. So what about this Bethesda conference? I mean, you guys are saying it's the first time that they're holding an hour-long conference at E3, and I guess there's significance to that, but I just want to know how long Bethesda has been a company that makes games and why they've possibly waited this long to. They've been popular forever.
Well, they were.
Because they didn't have to. I mean, they still don't have to, probably. I mean, I think that the reason that... Okay, so the speculation that we have, right, is like, are they going to announce one thing or multiple things? And I think that they're going to announce multiple things.
Well,
And if they don't, then they're announcing one thing and they're waiting to announce another thing later on this year, and they're just using E3 as an excuse to announce more shit.
to answer your question, Peter, they were founded in 1986, so they've been going at this for a while, for multiple
Thank you,
decades.
Wikipedia.
Yeah, thank you, Wikipedia. To me, they came into the limelight around Morrowind when I picked up Morrowind, and then it was like they made every game that was my favorite game every time they made a game, right? So Morrowind was my favorite, Oblivion was my favorite, then Fallout 3 was my favorite, then Skyrim not my favorite, but it's just everything that they make is very like high quality. And I mean, I guess that's arguable, but I mean they're big games. They're AAA
Bethesda
games.
quality.
Yeah. And so one of the rumors floating around is that because it's been so long since Fallout 3 came out, that they now have this hour-long press conference that they've never had before, alongside developers like BioWare, Ubisoft, however you say that, Activision, all these people, they have their press conference now, and so they've got their fingers in a lot of different jars, so they could be released, like talking about a new Fallout game, which would be insane and probably break the internet. And they could be talking about a new Elder Scrolls game, which would be less insane, but probably still break the internet. They could be talking about Dishonored 2, publishing a new thing, or making a completely new IP, and then that would also probably break the internet.
Yeah, right.
So anything they say or do is probably going to break the internet. I mean, so just get ready. It's going to happen.
Okay, and I'm looking at the Wikipedia list of games that they've developed or published, and it actually it isn't clear whether they had a hand in developing or if they just published them. But I see they've got like an affinity for potentially embarrassing movie adaptations into video games, such as Terminator and Pirates of the Caribbean. Like I remember playing Terminator on like shooting games in the arcade, and I remember those being fun, but they weren't. They weren't great titles. They weren't something that you were at home trying to fall asleep and you just thought about it and then you end up having dreams about them. But as far as Morrowind and Elder Scrolls and all that stuff that came after, Fallout 3 and so forth, like those are the games that I know of that are very popular. And looking at this list, a lot of the games that they've released in the past 10 years are mainstream. They're like beloved. They're really cared for. So what do you guys personally want to hear from Bethesda? What do you guys want to be true?
Well, I was gonna say I think that what you're talking about with like the Pirates of the Caribbean game and all that stuff. There's a point where like the fandom of Bethesda games, like that attraction. Bethesda basically probably was just sitting there one day and a developer came to them and was like, here's some money, can you publish our game? And Bethesda was like, okay, fine. So you got published by Bethesda, and like they probably have some quality control over it, maybe like to make sure that the game works, and like they put it through testing or whatever. But other than that, I think it really is just a one of those things where it's just like meh, like it's not a big deal that they've published those types of games. I want to see Fallout 4 because Fallout 4 would be awesome. I also want to see Half-Life 3, but apparently that's never going to happen. So, no, literally, by the way, we didn't put this in the show notes. Fallout 3 or Half-Life 3 might not happen.
All right, so how about you, Eric? Like, what rumors have you heard that you want to be true, or what rumors are you speculating that you'd like to come true?
Well, there is speculation that Fallout 4 will be announced. Of course, I would like to see that. I would like to hear that. Anything Elder Scrolls related, if there's even a new, like, hey, this is coming out in 2017, but here's a clip, I would probably still be excited for. Not as excited, but I'd be excited. And I think there were also speculations that because it's been so long before they've given out any information about any new games, that they might also be, if they are making Fallout 4 or Elder Scrolls, or if they're making a new IP or whatever, it'll be run on an engine that they've made from scratch. So I know Skyrim was a rebuilt engine after Oblivion, and I wouldn't be surprised if they made a new engine and it's like the best thing ever, because I can only imagine that since their last engine was fantastic, that this next one's going to be groundbreaking. So yeah, there's that. That's what I hope. A new game with a new engine, and my mind to be blown, and I
I want Skyrim, Fallout, Craft 3.
Yeah, listening to you guys talk about this, it's actually kind of exciting for me, because even if I don't play every video game out there, I mean, like I said, I have time to play video games. I don't have the energy, and I don't feel like putting money towards it, but I do get some time occasionally, and I get really engrossed in what I do end up deciding to play. So now that you guys have mentioned, they've had a lot of time since they released any games, and you're speculating that they might announce a new engine and a new IP, I think that's great. I think that's really exciting, and I'd be totally on board with that. I still just also want to say that I'd be pretty happy if they announced Dishonored 2. Just because, like I was saying earlier, where they went with the DLCs, if they can do the same thing for the sequel, I would be all over that shit. And another thing, like just to educate our listeners, because I've been reading about Bethesda Softworks while you guys have been talking. Bethesda Softworks is actually owned by ZeniMax Media Inc., and ZeniMax is mostly a publisher. They own several minor companies underneath them, including Bethesda, ZeniMax Online Studios, ID Software, Arcane Studios, Tango Gameworks, Machine Games, and Battlecry Studios. So if you've ever heard of any of those, try to...
id Software.
id Software, which is responsible for Wolfenstein, am I right?
And Doom.
And Doom. So yeah, if you guys recognize any of those names, go ahead and do some research and see what games you've enjoyed that are associated with those studios. Because, I mean, I have never been a huge fan of particular game studios, but, the more I'm learning about them, the more I'm getting excited about them.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so we're going to move on to our unhealthy obsessions. And this week, it seems that really we're not really waiting for any video games. We're waiting for announcements. So we decided we're going to talk about why we got into video games in the first place. For me, it was just because I lived out in the middle of fucking nowhere, had no friends, video games. It's pretty simple. Video games were the only social medium I had, so...
Pretty cool. I think that's a reason that a lot of people get into it. How about you, Eric?
Let's see. I got into video games because I was blessed, I guess. My mom probably just wanted to find some way to entertain me, to keep me busy when I was young, and so I got an NES. I got a bunch of games for it, and I played the hell out of it. And then I got, the first Game Boy. I got the first Game Boy, and so I took that with me everywhere. I rocked Donkey Kong Land. That was my game. That was so good. And then obviously Pokemon Red and Blue. I mean, those changed the world for me. Just like hours and hours, given to this game where it's just so immersive and it's so cool because it's, you're always striving to be better than the next challenge, and it's full of puzzles and action and the stupid rival, Dick Butt or whatever you named him at the beginning of the game. And then I got a Sega Genesis, and then I got, finally, it was like the last year run of the N64. I'd played a whole bunch of N64 games with all my friends, and I was always super jealous. Finally got an N64, and then they announced the GameCube. So then, of course, I begged and pleaded, and it came out around the same time as my birthday, so I got a GameCube on my birthday, and it came with Super Smash Bros., and I was completely stoked. And it came with Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, which was so freaking cool. It was like, they had this like heavy metal, / ska, punk, music. You could... all the tracks were really cool, all the, off the rails kind of crazy stuff. And then you had this thing called Chow Garden. And in Chow Garden, you could, raise these little flying things, and you could, depending on how you treated them and what you fed them and what you gave them, they got stronger in certain aspects, or they got cool decorations, or they could become completely evil or completely good. And you just had this whole, garden that you could unlock more things in and take your chows to school and all this crazy stuff. And then Halo came around, and I got an Xbox. That was pretty awesome. Then Xbox was just my thing for a while, and I was diehard. And I saw, when I picked up Morrowind, that was the game changer. I sat around and played Morrowind for hours and hours and hours, and then I, would go to school, and my buddies and I would sit down and in class just draw out what armor sets we had, and what locations were cool, and what the coolest boss, or not boss, the coolest monster we fought, or whatever. and then we would then I mean I guess that progressed into Oblivion Excitement and so on and so forth, and got an Xbox 360. I pre-ordered it like months in advance, got it like a month late because they were so understocked. And then finally, when I finally got Oblivion, I got grounded from games, and so I used to use the excuse that I wanted to keep the Xbox in my room as a DVD player, and then sneak up at night and play Oblivion. And then I would go to school, and I would hear my buddy talking about all this stuff he did. And I was like, yeah, well, I'm this level, and I'm much, I have this cool thing and that cool thing. And it was always awesome because I'm like, well, I played for like 3 hours before bed, and you've been playing for like 8 hours straight. So, and I'm higher level than you and all that, just not that any of that stuff matters. It was just fun. So that led me into all the other games that I was stoked for the 360, and eventually got a PS3. Now we're playing on PS4. I got a decent computer so I can play some PC games. I've got a backlog of like 200 Steam games, and maybe someday I'll do like a stream or like a YouTube series or something of me just playing every single game that I own and beating it, and then I'll die.
Not before Fallout 4 comes out.
Yeah, no. I mean, that'll be on the list.
Gotcha. Okay, so as far as video game consoles or systems that I've owned, I mean, when I was a little kid, like maybe 4 or 5 years old, my parents got a Windows 3.1, I think, computer, or is it 3.2? Whatever. But that introduced me to gaming. At the same time that we got that computer, I mean, I should explain that pretty much every experience that I've had as far as owning my own systems, owning my own consoles, have been secondhand or just like several years too late. So at the same time that I was playing on my little PC, I was playing Wolfenstein, Lemmings. I think there was like an A10 Thunder something, like a flight simulator where you just bomb tanks on the map. I also remember all my friends had Nintendos or Super Nintendos, and I would just, go over to their house to experience those things. And that track continued throughout my entire life. Like even now, I still have that kind of track record where I'm hesitant to be on the cutting edge of video games or technology. The PlayStation 4 came out and the Xbox One came out, and I still just have an Xbox 360 and a PlayStation 3. And honestly, the Xbox 360 is the only one that I bought. The PlayStation 3 I kind of inherited by dating this awesome girl that I'm dating right now. But my experiences go Windows 3.2, then or 3.1, then Nintendo. I never owned a Super Nintendo, but I got to the Sega, and literally all I played on that was Sonic the Hedgehog, and I think I also had Jurassic Park, which was a terrible game. Oh my
god, that game was awesome.
Oh, it was awesome? Okay. I never could get past the first couple levels.
Quick interruption. I played that game because I had a Super Nintendo as well, and I had that game, and I could never beat it as a kid. And I picked it up again later when I was like 18, and me and my roommate sat down and played it. And we played it so long. We played it like 20 hours or something like that. And the thing is, you can't save. If you die or you shut the game off, you lose all your progress and you have to start over again. And it's so fucking terrible and annoying. And we finally...
Free Dark Souls.
Yeah. And we had to use strategies online to get our way through. Finally, we made it through, and we're like, oh, there's going to be some sweet cinematic at the end. Nothing.
You get nothing?
You get like a picture of the Jurassic Park logo.
Well, I'm glad I never liked that game then. But yeah, okay. So I'm going to go on to say my crowning achievement, or at least one of my crowning achievements. I have many. I'm a humble video gamer, and I take whatever I can get. But I remember when I was a kid, me and my buddy Daniel, he would come over often to like drink chocolate milk because my family always was stocked up on that. And we would also play Super Smash Bros. And Perfect Dark just constantly. And my crowning achievement in Perfect Dark was not only beating the video game on the highest difficulty, but also finding all the cheeses and anything extra that you can pick up, as well as in multiplayer. Perfect Dark is kind of unique. I mean, I know a lot of video games do this, but Perfect Dark has these sims that you can add to your multiplayer match, and they each have specific qualities to them. There's the judge, I think, who just goes after whichever of the players, whether it's you or another sim, who has the most kills, and he'll murder the shit out of them. And all these AIs have specific schematics, specific directions on who they attack and why and how they kill you. And so we did a match with just all the AIs possible, all the different AIs that we could load up. We put them on the hardest difficulty, and me and my buddy on a team together beat everybody, all the other teams, by 1 kill. And I can't tell you how frustrating and difficult that was with Perfect Dark, especially because it's got so many mechanics and so many ways to kill other people that it's nearly impossible, I tell you. But anyway, moving on from that, in recent years, I mean, I'm saving up to get a PlayStation 4. I've got a pretty awesome TV ready for it. But in the past 5 years, I'd say I play more computer games than console games. And I've had the privilege of playing, every Assassin's Creed up till 4, and also lots of indie titles like This War of Mine and The Forest. The Forest is still in development. But that's just my gaming style. I really enjoy being just a little bit on the outskirts and not enjoying the games that other people are playing. Unless, I happen to have the newest console and I happen to have the newest game that my buddies are playing, like with Halo or The Last of Us when it was new at the time. So, Eric, Tor, do you guys have like a brief snippet of something that you're proud of in your past with video gaming, like something that you achieved?
I would say not getting yelled at in Dota 2 for being bad. I think that's my crowning achievement, and it's happened a couple times, so it's pretty awesome. Only a few times, but usually everyone's just like, "Fuck you, you're fucking terrible at this game. Everyone's fucking terrible. My whole team sucks. You're feeding, blah." Yeah.
I drink because my wife left me.
No, they don't have girlfriends. They play Dota too.
How about you, Eric?
I think, it's kind of a minor one, but let's see. It doesn't involve a whole lot of camaraderie or anything like that, but I remember one time when I was playing Halo 1, we were playing multiplayer on Blood Gulch, and I saw this warthog going around the base at the far end of the map, and I just hucked a sticky grenade as far as into the air as I could in the direction I thought he would go. And then it landed on the warthog. The warthog drove straight at me and then blew up right in front of my face,
And flipped over you?
Yeah, and flipped over me. It was the coolest thing that I'd ever. I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "That was so amazing." Obviously, everybody's so engrossed in the game that they have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm like, I have to explain it. Everyone pause. This just happened. It's really cool.
Speaking of Halo, by the way, I guess this is a crowning achievement. These kids that used to tease me in school, and they were on my bus, they live literally I don't know, 5 miles from where we're at right now. They gave me their gamer tags when Halo 2 came out, and thinking they could bully me online, beat me in the game and stuff. Turned out that they just stopped wanting to play with me because I beat the shit out of them in the game over and over and over again. They'd be like, "Who the hell is this guy?" And they're like, "Oh, it's Tor." And then eventually they just stopped they were always offline, so they probably blocked me or whatever. But I could never play with them again because I beat them so hard.
Well, that's really awesome. See, I mean, video games offer you this little avenue for you to feel really good about yourself, especially if you can apply it to real life and beat the shit out of your bullies and enemies.
Yeah,
that's great.
Although they were worse to me in real life after that, so.
You still won.
I can still beat you in Halo.
You still won. If they fall asleep in class, you could teabag them or stick a plasma grenade to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. All right, so the last portion, we've only got about 15 minutes left to talk about this. It's our midnight therapy sessions.
I
And
should preface this by saying I haven't played this game, but we have some footage silently playing in the background so I could watch you guys. And before we go into this, I mean, I bet our viewers can guess what you guys are playing since you've been talking about it forever. But holy shit, you guys are in the same area. This footage has been running for like an hour, and I see you keep killing the same people in the same place over and over again because you keep on dying. Tell me about this game.
Okay, let me start by describing Bloodborne.
what is this game
okay?
called? Oh.
The game is called Bloodborne, and I would like to start by describing what this game is about. So this game is set in modern times. You have a jetpack, you have a gun.
What?
And
What? A
and,
jetpack?
Yeah, and you have to use the jetpack to hop from platform to platform. And then if you don't make it past the platform, you can obviously use the jetpack to boost yourself up. But you have limited
Are you talking
jetpack.
about Destiny?
No,
Yeah,
this
I
is
think you're talking
Bloodborne.
about
This is
Destiny.
Bloodborne, and you fight kind of like these spider alien things that it's based on a true story, I guess.
What true story?
Just
Okay,
kidding.
hang
So,
on.
okay.
Wait. I know it's a joke, but what are you actually describing right now, Eric?
I just made a bunch of shit up.
That
Right.
sounds like a game I'd play.
So Bloodborne. Let's talk about Bloodborne.
Okay, you guys talk about Bloodborne, and I'll just ask really, really naive questions.
Okay, this game is fucking hard. It's really good though. The Souls series, like, this isn't a Souls game. I don't think. Like, it is and it isn't. Like, it's Souls-like, I would say. It's a new progression because there's no shields. Like, it's not set in the modern or the medieval time, and the mechanics are a bit different. You didn't have Estus flasks, I don't think, in Demon Souls, but so this is kind of like a combination of like Demon Souls meets Dark Souls, maybe in a way, without shields.
Yeah.
I don't know. The game is really good. It's really well put together. It changes a lot of the mechanics that you're used to if you're a Souls player, and it's still got like the same reward, I would say.
Yeah, this game is way too hard. It's so stupid. This is the worst game I've ever played.
But I'm looking at it, and it's it's visually interesting. The only thing that really grinds on me just watching this footage that you guys recorded is that you're doing the same shit over and over.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
but I was getting used to, so you're watching me play right now. I was getting used to like the combat of this game. They changed a lot of stuff. Like, so backstabbing now, for instance, you have to like do a charged up R2 attack behind them without them knowing that you're there, or well, they can know that you're there, but if you hit your charged up R2 attack when it's fully charged and you hit them in the back, they get staggered. And then you can go and you can do a visceral attack on the back of them, or even I think on the front of them too. I don't think it matters where you do it, but basically you just like jam your weapon into them.
Oh yeah, you literally just did that.
Yeah.
And I remember, is that a mechanic that they added? Because I remember in Dark Souls 2, I watched the Honest trailer, and there was a portion where they just made fun of the fact that you could beat a lot of bosses or enemies just by going around them and attacking their ass.
Well, okay, it's not a mechanic that they added, but it's a mechanic that they expanded upon. In the past, if you just hit R1 behind an enemy, that was a backstab attack. Now you have to do a charge up to get them into a kneeling position. It's a special position that the enemies have, and then you can do a visceral attack. And that comes into play later, and I don't really want to do too many spoilers for this podcast, maybe next week, but visceral attacks are a type of attack, and it does matter later on in the game.
Okay.
Yeah. I would like to start by saying that this is the best game I've ever played. And that even though it's very difficult, it's so amazing. It's so rewarding. It's so cool. The atmosphere is insane. It's sort of like this 1800s, like...
Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, there's a lot of Abraham Lincolns there. It's sort of a London-esque town. They're basically
away. You'll hear that a lot.
it's the night of the hunt, and people turn into beasts on the night of the hunt, and you're a hunter. And so your job is to go and kill all these beasts and uncover why people are turning into beasts and try to find the cure. And it could all be a dream, and it's insane. It's just so crazy. And the amount of stuff that you have to do, the amount of stuff that you have to like work yourself through is just, it's so taxing. Like there's a lot to do and a lot to obviously there's a lot of repetition because you got to learn move sets, you got to learn where you're at, what you're doing, where you're going. The level design is insane. It's so intricate that like everything feeds back into everything else at one point or another. So there's always some gate that's locked from the other side or something like that that makes this whole, like, at least the first section of the game, like crazy intricate.
No, I mean the first section of the game, like I'm pretty far in my playthrough. I played for like some 11 hours when the game came out. I'm pretty far in my playthrough. The first area, I mean, like everything in that area is connected. You are constantly like looking for keys to unlock doors or levers to unlock doors to make shortcuts. There's less like bonfires, they call them lampposts in this. The thing that sucks is you can't sit at them to reset the enemies, and there's some loading screen problems, and I think that might be what's affecting the NPCs in the game. The loading screens, so they're all going fucking crazy. But, yeah. No,
So
I
you
mean,
mean,
like, the game is very interconnected. Like, and that comes back to, like, the whole Demon Souls, Dark Souls comparison, whereas, like, Demon Souls was a game where you had the Nexus, and then you had to constantly, like, go and warp into different areas, right? Dark Souls was a game where there was no Nexus, and you just had to explore the areas that you were in, right?
Uh-huh.
And everything was interconnected, and there was warping later on once you get like a special item. In Bloodborne, there's a nexus where you can warp to all these places, but you can still run from each like area to each area so far from what I've seen. So basically, yeah, everything is interconnected in one way or another in this game. It's just that there's also a nexus where you can use to warp like Demon Souls to the next place. So,
Got it. Okay. And you guys mentioned loading screens. Are the loading screens just super long? And
yeah, they're working on a patch. The day one patch was supposed to address it, but it apparently didn't. I was watching some streams before the game came out, some people who got their hands on the copy early, and it doesn't seem like the loading screens have changed at all. I saw like one like fake patch note that was like increase loading screen time by 350%, and like like made it so that bosses only there's a boss timer of 30 seconds for each boss, because like every time you get in, like you just get creamed by the bosses, like you're watching like us going back to like trying to fight this boss that took us for fucking ever. Some really experienced Souls players beat this boss. This is the Cleric Beast, like the first boss. Beat this boss on his second attempt, and he like did a video on it on YouTube, and he's like, so yeah, like this is my second attempt with the Cleric Beast boss, and I just showing you like how to beat him, kind of. I got my blood echoes back because they make you go, basically they do make you go through the game and go to this boss and die before you can level, because you need insight, which you get from
Dying by this guy's hand.
Well, you actually get it from
A doll in a hunter's dream.
You get insight every time you enter a boss area, and you get 3 insight every time you beat a boss. This boss, I think, happens to like only give you the insight once he kills you, and then the doll appears. So once you get 1 insight, the doll appears. Once you get 10, you can get the bell to go help other players. But once you get 1, it gives you the bell to let other players into your game.
okay, so the game is really difficult, but it's got it teaches you just how difficult it's going to be pretty much straight off. It's like, hey man, this is what you're getting into, and these are the things you need to collect in order to get better.
Kind of. I mean, the game you you should be prepared for the difficulty of this game because you've played Demon Souls or Dark Souls or Dark Souls 2.
I haven't.
So, yeah, you probably would be like,
Souls
this game
up.
fucking blows. Because, like, it doesn't really tell you. That's the draw. The draw of these games is that they don't tell you very much. And you kind of have to just figure things out. They don't tell you where you're going. In fact, Dark Souls 1 gives you more information on what you're trying to do than this game does. Dark Souls 1 says that there's a bell above and below you and you have to ring both of them. This game is just kind of like, yeah, so you're a new hunter here. Well, go out and kill some beasts. Seems like what everyone else is doing. And you talk to these townsfolk who are in locked doors. You talk to them behind locked doors so you don't even see their face. And they just tell you like shit like, you're the reason this is happening and fuck you, fuck off, you stupid hunter. And
So
they
there's
don't
like
like you. Yeah, so
there's
like,
like an air of mystery, and the game is super oppressive from the start.
yeah, the game is very mysterious.
Okay, cool.
I would say that the only thing that I don't particularly like about it, but I haven't gotten very far in it. I haven't gotten as far as Tor has, but the only thing I don't really like about it is the lack. I know this is maybe not like a huge issue or whatever, but the lack of weapons. And the only thing is,
I love that. I actually,
yeah, Tor likes it, but Tor's wrong. I mean, one of the best things about the Souls games is that every 5 seconds you find a weapon, and it's always either better or worse than yours, and you always have to like level up to get it, and you level these stats so that you can finally use this weapon, and then you find a cooler weapon, and then you're like, oh, I got to use that. And then there are like the weapon specific builds, there are armor specific builds because of this. Like everybody's made their own like unique character because of all of these weapons that they found. And so it's like you see this skinny guy with like this staff and like a loincloth and like this helmet that makes him look like Satan. And you're like, what's this guy gonna do? And then he whips you like in PvP. He just like does some crazy thing that you've never seen, and you're like, okay, well, I guess I should go find that weapon and figure out how to use it and figure out what the fuck this guy's doing, because I need to be doing what that guy's doing. And I think that this game lacks that aspect of it, at least, because you're stuck with the same weapon for the first like, I don't know. I still have the same weapon for the first, and I've been playing for 4 or 5 hours on one character, 6 hours maybe, and I have the same weapon, and that's in Dark Souls you'd have found something else.
You have to buy weapons in this game, but I don't want to do too much spoilers. Like next week, I'll go into depth on why I like the weapon system, but it'll make sense later. You got to play the game for it to make sense, for real. Like they've changed a lot of stuff. But, like, it'll make sense later, like, how things work, I guess. Like, and reading items in this game is just as important as in Dark Souls 1.
Oh, yeah. And I would say that if you do pick up Bloodborne, if you do start playing it, play it with a buddy. It's way more fun. And while they're playing, download a soundboard app on your phone.
Oh, God damn it.
I found a perfect one that has, like, 90s sitcom transitions. And it has applause, it has laughter, it has boos, it has woo, like that stuff has everything. It has the Batman sounds, like when they bow, boo, when they hit enemies in Batman. It has all of that. So if you're playing that along, while it's not your turn on Bloodborne, it makes the game so much cooler. Like I think we turned ours into a TV show called Bloodborne Island, featuring our character, Five Finger Freddy, who doesn't play by the rules. It was pretty great.
All right, so Eric's jokes are horrible.
Yeah, they are pretty horrible, but I appreciate them.
Thanks, guys.
So
for our audience's benefit, and since we're running out of time, why don't you guys go ahead and summarize your opinion of Bloodborne as well as kind of what the game is, just within a span of 30 seconds.
You want to go first?
I think that this game needs some patches, but I think otherwise it's like game of the year for sure. I mean, this game is freaking ridiculous. It's different than the Souls games in a lot of regards. Like Eric was saying, like the items that you find aren't necessarily weapons. And like the ring system is a little different in this game. There's a lot of upgrading your weapons is a lot more straightforward than Dark Souls 2, which is really nice. But I would summarize this game as fucking awesome, and what I thought FromSoft was going to give us with Dark Souls 2, something of this caliber. I think it's the best in the genre yet.
Okay, Eric.
I would say that this game is way too hard, and that this is the best game ever made. And that's it. That's all I would say.
All right, as a person who hasn't played any of these games, I mean, I've just watched people play it and get really frustrated. That's part of the reason that, that kind of scared me away from it. But just the visuals and watching Bloodborne specifically, like this footage that you guys have got, there's a definite strategy. You guys keep on going back to the same enemies and the same bosses and trying slightly different techniques. And I see you guys get further and further in every time, and that's kind of drawing me into it. I know it's going to be hard, but eventually when I do get a PS4, since Bloodborne is a PS4 exclusive, I am definitely going to pick this game up and play the shit out of it. Probably get really frustrated too. Nope, you died again.
Yep. So it's time to wrap this up with our Hug Jacket giveaway. And I think really all we have to say is thank you to everyone who has listened so far and everyone who has...
supported our Twitch stream.
Yeah, Twitch stream. Everyone in Twitch. Magnus Furcifer, he's a friend of ours that I watch his streams a lot, and he comes by and he supports and he talks. So I appreciate everyone so far. I know it's just a new startup, but I look forward to the rest of you guys popping into Twitch soon. And also thank you FromSoft. Thank you FromSoft for bringing back Rats.
Thank you.
And Bloodborne. And fuck your dogs, FromSoft. Fuck your dogs.
All right, Eric?
And your dog birds.
Yeah, fuck your dog birds. What the fuck, FromSoft? Like, why you got barking fucking crows now? Like, what?
I would like to say thank you to anybody who watched the 24-hour live stream. I know there were about 2 of you. Yeah. So I just want to say thank you for tuning in. That was pretty awesome.
3 people.
Moobot. Yeah, Moobot counts.
No, Moobot... Okay, if Moobot counts, then there was 4. Some, vampire streak guy came in.
Okay, well, thank you, Vampire Streak guy.
Yeah.
All right, just as a frame of reference, Eric, what social media do we have and how many followers do we have just for people that are listening to this who want to know a little bit more about us or keep in better touch with us, as well as just, statistically so we can all keep track of how well we're doing on the social media spectrum?
I haven't even looked. I don't know.
We have a couple hundred followers, I think, on Twitter. But so we're at HugJacketGamers on Twitter. We've got a Facebook page. I think it's facebook.com/HugJacketGamers. Not sure. Facebook sometimes gates that. We have a YouTube page that you have to search for because we still need 300 subscribers. So if you subscribe to that, we'd be very appreciative. And twitch.tv/HugJacketGamers is how you can follow us.
Okay, awesome. I didn't even know that. As far as thank yous, I mean, everything has been said thanks to our viewers and our listeners. And again, if you guys can, just go ahead and leave a comment. Tell us what you'd like to see. Right now, we're just kind of spitballing and exploring ideas, like things that we can talk about that we know and love personally. But if you throw something out there and it's interesting, then we're going to do our research and we're going to discuss our feelings on it as well. So go ahead and leave a comment. Tell us what you think and tell us what you want us to talk about.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.